release from a couple years ago is "Everything You Love Will Be Taken Away," and I was actually already going to mention graveyards and cemeteries and deaths and stuff because you referenced it a little bit in this album, and then there it is in that song too. And on the album you got Stephen King of all people writing some pretty cool liner notes, who's written a few songs centered around graveyards and cemeteries and stuff. What's going on here? Just coincidence or what?
I was going through a phase, reaching my mid-40s. I just sort of had achieved those things you achieve in middle age. You get the home and the family and the pet and the career and I just realized that I've sort of achieved everything I've strove for 20 years, and now the rest of my life will be saying goodbye to all those things. And sure enough, I put my dog down last week, so it started. Yeah, it was rough. But I had to go through that phase of just appreciating everything that I have and realizing it's not going to be around forever. It's not going to be around. It's going to be a blink of an eye. It's going to disappear. So better enjoy it while you can. So that was kind of the theme of that record, and the theme of loss on a bunch of different levels, and the idea of appreciating what you have.
Well, that's nice. That's a good outlook, I'd say. I mean, it's a dark, heavy theme, I guess. And the title of the album, "Everything You Love Will Be Taken Away." I mean, that's just, it gets folks' attention. It's like, whoa. But it's not a real overly heavy sounding album or morbid or anything. I find it quite optimistic. At times it's hilarious with some of the characters you talk about, the guy in the black T-shirt and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lighthearted take on a otherwise kind of heavy topic.
Yeah, well, I try. It's not all doom and gloom. It's just
Yeah.
about characters and people going through certain phases of their life and trying to have fun with it.
Yeah. Well, I like your blend of creating characters. Well, it seems like you're creating characters, or maybe they really are people that you see in the parking lot, and you know a little bit about them, if only by watching them, and then you create the songs. But then tributes to Hank Williams and a few other kind of real life folks too.
Actually, one of the songs is sort of a sequel. Sometimes I write sequels to my old songs. I get more material and decide to write some more verses and turn it into a sequel. So the song "Horses" is about my friend Willie up in Maine. I always wanted to write a sequel about that, and I thought, because he's a real character up in Maine, just a real cantankerous kind of wacky neighbor guy. But I think the sequel is going to be based on his daughter, who inherited his sense of humor. And she said something really funny at a gig last summer, so I might get a song out of that. So yeah, still on the lookout for wacky characters. My friend Wranglin' Ron inspired one of the songs. That's on the new record, right? Tumbleweed Stew, yeah.
Yeah.
Wranglin' Ron quit drinking, so he's not sending me any more song ideas. But, yeah, it's too bad.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you still maybe could make a song out of it somehow. It's a great idea, the idea of kind of doing sequels to topics and stuff.
Sure.
A few folks have done that. I don't know if Woody Guthrie did that, but I kind of feel like he did. And I know he was a big influence on you. I mean, That's kind of, you could say that about most songwriters. But over the years, it kind of clicked with me that, yeah, I hear a lot of Woody in your influence. And I guess reading about it in an interview of yours or something, that was the case. Growing up in Maine, somehow you got a hold of his stuff.
Yeah, I think my mom exposed me to Pete Seeger and the Weavers and Woody Guthrie as a child. She was a kindergarten teacher when I was born, and this was in the early 60s, so, This Land Is Your Land was becoming the unofficial national anthem, so I was exposed early on to that, and later on when I started writing, started wanting to write, I actually came across those records in the attic and in the library in town, and dug out the Dust Bowl ballads, and then the one that really hit it for me was the Library of Congress recordings, it's just like this. It's Alan Lomax interviewing Woody Guthrie when he's about 38 years old, right after he moved out from the West onto the East Coast, and Alan asking Woody questions, and I think the only difference is they were passing a bottle back and forth during their interview. But there was some pretty great stories told, and it put that kind of old dusty folk music. As a 20-year-old, it seemed kind of dusty and remote to me. But hearing Woody talk about his home and his family and the experiences he had, and then going right into a song about those things, it really connected me to his music in a big way, and he became one of my greatest influences.
I was looking at some of your blogs and writings and journal entries and stuff, Slade, and there was two interesting things I learned from that. One of them was about how Rod Picott was a childhood friend of yours, because you mentioned that you changed your name. You started being called by your first name back in junior high school, and you were there with Rod, and he would kind of nudge you when people were calling your first name, and you weren't realizing, oh, they're talking to me. That was cool. So to go to school with him, and then at some point you guys decided that you were both going to go down the same path as songwriters.
Yeah, we sort of banded together in high school. We loved music together. As kids, we shared our record collection, our parents' record collection, really, and our books about the Beatles or whatever. And then in high school, we started a garage band. We were called the Magic Rats, as in the Magic Rat drove his sleek machine over the Jersey state line. So you can tell who our hero was.
Nice.
In 1980. So I played keyboards at the time because I took piano lessons from an early age, and so I got a little Farfisa electric piano and an organ eventually, and I was the keyboard player, and Rod was a singer and guitar player, and we were a terrible band. We practiced all the time, and we saved up all our money from our after-school job to buy a big PA system, so we were really loud and really bad, and we only played 3 gigs, and they were all private parties, and we didn't get paid at any of them, but the cops did shut each one of them down, which made us very proud.
Yeah, that is a badge of honor for sure.
That's right.
Is that part of the inspiration to make a career out of it? Did you play like the talent show, the high school talent show, or anything like that?
Yeah, we did that is one of the other shows we did. That one didn't get shut down, although
No.
the principal threatened. We did Crazy Train, Ozzy Osbourne's Crazy Train, and we did Louie Louie, and the staff told us we couldn't do Louie Louie, but we did it anyway because they were afraid we're going to sing some of the off-color lyrics, but we cleaned it up for the high school crowd.
You had to clean up Louie Louie. That is just a shame.
Well, Louie Louie is up to much interpretation. It can go many different ways.
Yeah. People just don't think about that so much anymore, though.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little more direct now if they want to offend, maybe.
Yeah.
So Rob Picott, you still in touch with him? You play with him once in a while?
Yeah. We've written a bunch of songs over the years, fewer and fewer these days because he's got a touring schedule and I do, and once in a while we do some shows together if our paths happen to be crossing. But we actually wrote a song a few months ago through email. It was our first completely electronically written song. Yeah.
And then another artist that we like a lot, that you worked with a lot over the years, Gurf Morlix. He produced this one. He produced your first one, right? Broke Down.
He did.
Co-producer, anyway.
There was one before that he produced. Actually, my first national release on Rounder was No Angel Knows in 1997.
Right.
So he did No Angel Knows, and he did Wishbones and Broke Down, and this one, Everything You Love. Yeah, so 4 albums.
He seems like a good one to work with. He's worked with so many folks.
He's amazing. Yeah.
Not only does his product seem good, like when yours and the Lucinda Williams ones and all, but people talk about how he's real easy to work with. And
yeah, he's a consummate professional, and just Ray Wiley Hubbard records and Mary Gauthier records and Tom Russell records. And, yeah, they're all really great.
Yeah. Slaid Cleaves here live on WNCW. Wow, no one gets a bonus for bloody knuckles and scars. What great lines.
Oh, thanks, man.
No one remembers your name for working too hard. A new one that you co-wrote with Rod. What is the name of it?
Rust Belt Fields.
Rust Belt Fields. Cool. Mm-hmm. You mentioned a town called Boone in there. Would that be Boone, North Carolina?
I heard someone mention Boone earlier today, and I noticed that. But you know what? I looked on a map of Michigan, and I looked for a town outside of Detroit that was on a river that might have a casino on it. I'm just guessing. I don't know if there's a casino in Boone or not, but that's all the material I had. I was offline. I was off the grid, actually, so I couldn't get online and find out for sure.
I guess it would make sense. It was more of a Boone, Michigan one if it's such a car theme and all.
Yeah.
You were offline. You were off the grid. What was that like?
It's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you made it back, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It was pretty hairy there. Yeah.
Do you do that to help with the songwriting, or do you actually use it as an aid, or is it sometimes one, sometimes the other?
Well, a few years ago, we found ourselves a little tiny cabin on a little river in Maine that's off the grid and way off the grid. And it's just our little decompression chamber, our little fortress of solitude that we need after pounding down the highway day after day and sleeping in hotels night after night and dealing with people constantly. And just to get away from people and to get into nature. And we haul our water, and we have to canoe into town to get ice, and it's that kind of deal. So it's something we look forward to all year long, is a few weeks out in the woods.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, you spend most of your time in Texas, where you've been since, when did you move there?
It'll
Early 90s?
coming up on 20 years. Yeah,
All
20
right.
years this November. Yeah.
Cool. And the we would be you and your wife, who works a lot with you behind the scenes on all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's Karen. She had a day job and supported me through the lean years, and then as things picked up for me, she was able to phase out of her job and become my manager and accountant and bookkeeper and road manager and booking agent and everything. All I do is sing my little songs. She does everything else.
A jack of all trades.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, are you there to stay in Texas for good, but little forays back to the home state of Maine, or do you see yourself moving full time back to Maine, or what do you think in 10 years? Where's Slaid and Claren going to be?
Well, we just we're moving out of Austin down to Wimberley, about 40 miles from Austin, a smaller town, and so we're buying a new house this year. So we'll be there for the long term. We've kind of got a seasonal schedule where we're in Texas in the winter months, and we tour with stops off in Maine in the summer months to cool off. So it works out pretty well seasonally.
That sounds good.
It's a migratory pattern.
Yes. Your last album, Everything You Love Will Be Taken Away, from 2009. I think it was the first one on the Music Road Records.
I think it was the first full-blown release. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So, and that's kind of a cool little project. It's a co-op of sorts with Jimmy LaFave and others. Can you explain to folks that might be looking for alternatives than just the same old label type of thing? How's this co-op thing with Music Road work?
Well, let's see. I think it was all Jimmy's idea, and he found a financial backer to make it possible, and a friend of his in the oil industry, natural gas industry, a big music fan, and a guy named Fred Rebnert who's been running a studio in Austin, a great recording studio, Cedar Creek. So he had that sort of technical side to it, and then Jimmy is sort of the A&R man, the guy who decides who the artists are going to be. But the way it works, it's just, financially, it's just very simple. We have a studio at our use for free, and then we just kind of split the expenses and split the profits, and there's none of this sort of recouping period. And with a traditional record deal, you get 80% of 60% of 10% of 1% of something, and you end up getting a few pennies per record, whereas nowadays we just kind of share the wealth. And it's perfect for me, who I kind of needed a record label. I was on Rounder for 4 records, and they sort of helped establish my presence nationally. And there's a time to be with a label. You give up a lot of financial freedom with a label. They sort of own you for a while, but they built my career, and now I've got this wonderful career that I've wanted all this time. And I'm not trying to break into any new levels of success. I'm really happy where I am right now, and so this is a perfect place for me. This sort of handshake kind of deal.
Cool. And sounds like a nice time to maybe work on a live record, which
Yes.
I hear that you are working on.
Yeah. We recorded a couple of shows at the Venerable Horseshoe Lounge in South Austin last year, and I've spent the past couple months between tours popping into the studio to work on the mix and cutting out all the dead wood and rearranging and mixing the guitars and the vocals and all that. And we'll start working on the artwork this month, and should be out in a few months.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to it. Slaid Cleaves wrapping up a session here on WNCW with Michael O'Connor joining him. Thanks again, guys, for coming in.
Thank you.
All right. WNCW's Studio B Live broadcasts are made possible in part by Lake Lure and the Blue Ridge Foothills. Information at lakelureandblueridgefoothills.com.